is the new Mobius Point 2. This is a very precise airbrush. It's made for precision airbrushing. And the folks at Gaahleri sent this to me for testing and review. And I want to give you guys a quick sort of rundown. So what I did is I airbrushed this portrait here. It's just a stylized portrait. It's not photorealistic. And it's just done with black Createx illustration color. And it's just meant to show me what the airbrush is capable of doing, just doing freehand. I didn't use any masks or anything like that. What I did was pencil it and then just airbrush it straight on. So doing this portrait allowed me to see the characteristics of this particular airbrush, and then I can tell you guys what I found using it. So now Gaahleri made this just for precise airbrushing, and I've been in contact with them, and they said that they want to enter the high-end artisan market, and that's why they made this airbrush. And it's going to be available in two versions, the Point 2 and the Point 3. For this illustration I used the Point 2, and that's what this is. Now the Point 3 will be nearly the same, but it's going to have a bigger color cup, and it won't have this valve. As far as I know, it won't have this micro air control valve where you can sort of reduce the pressure if you want to at the line without having to go back to your compressor. And this sort of technology is shown in many different airbrushes. So now there are a few unique things about this Mobius airbrush. And one of them is it has this sort of like double helix DNA almost strand rear handle. And it's mostly aesthetic, but it does serve the function in that you can get to the adjustment to remove the needle, which you wouldn't do that with the handle, but what you would do is move the inner rotation knob, and that would control how tight and how loose the spring is in there, and it'll affect when you pull back if you have a soft feel or a hard feel, and it's all on preference. So that adjustment is totally on you. If you like a stiff pullback, then you would turn that all the way in, and if you want it softer, you would reduce it. I personally like mine soft because when I airbrush, I want like the lightest touch to give me paint, and it has to be very responsive, so I run it very soft. Now, in speaking with that, let me mention something that I noticed. Now, this airbrush, it is a budget airbrush. It's literally, you could buy 6 of these for the price of one of the other airbrushes that are very high end. So that gives you an idea. I believe the price point is around $100, which makes it very affordable for what it is and the intended market that Gaahleri really wants to go after. So what I noticed was that when I pressed down, it was a little stiff, and there's a valve rod in there, and pretty much all airbrushes have that. And it wasn't overly stiff. Matter of fact, I think most people would find it fine. But because I want that ultra light feel, it was a little stiffer than I liked. So what I did is I removed it, and then I polished it with a Dremel to just take off a few microns and just smooth it out. And then when I put it back in, it made it super smooth. Like, it takes no effort to push it down, and that's how I like it. So this is a matter of preference, and that's just something that I like, and I did that. You may find that yours is fine, but if you need, if you find that it just has a little bit too much pressure, you might want to try what I did. Just put some polish, polish out that valve rod, and it should go in very smooth, and hopefully you'll get it to spring the way you want. So that was one thing that I thought would be a nice improvement for their newer version. And another thing that I noticed was that when I pulled back on it, there was a little bit of a gritty feel. So when I took a look at it, it turned out that the trigger lever, not the trigger itself, but the lever right behind it that pushes, it's like a rocker, it pushes the assembly back and it recedes the needle in. That particular piece was a little bit rough, just a tiny bit. It looks like when they stamped it, it left a little bit of an edge on it, and it was a little rough. I don't know if everyone's gonna get that sort of experience, but in my particular one, it was like that. It literally took me less than a minute to fix it. I just took the Dremel again, polished it out, and now it looks like a piece of chrome. It's super mirror, and it's super smooth. Like, it goes back buttery smooth as any of my other high-end airbrushes. So those two things were the two mods that I did to mine. Other than that, everything else I found was really nice on it. And I am giving back feedback to Gaahleri, and we've been in touch with each other, and I've given them this feedback. So now this is going to result in a nice surprise. They have announced that their new versions of the Mobius, the new batch that's going to come out, will have the polished lever, and it's going to have the thinner rod. So you won't even have to do these modifications. So if you get it, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if what was your findings, and hopefully that the model you get is the newer one that has those refinements done. And if not, if you got this original one, it's super easy to tune it and get it to the way you want. So in using this, one thing that I noticed that was a little different than other airbrushes was that they use this sort of fluted and channeled air nozzle. Now this entire airbrush doesn't require tools to take apart. So when you take it apart, you'll see that their nozzle has channels in it. And I believe it has 6 channels. And the reason why they did is they said it reduces your working pressure. And I found that that is true. Normally I spray around 25 to 28 PSI, and I did this entire thing at about 23 PSI. So it is true that I was able to reduce it and still work and get the results that I normally would want to get. Now the benefit of that has a lot of benefits. One is that you get less of that overspray. So if you're spraying on canvas, anytime you reduce the pressure, you're not going to get the texture, you know, with a lot of overspray in it, and then like canvas has texture and it's very difficult to get rid of that. So that's a benefit. The lower the pressure, the less overspray. Another benefit is that you don't need a high-end compressor. A small compressor that's capable of 20, 30 PSI is more than enough. You can run that all day. So that's the benefit of using a lower PSI. And I like the fact that there are no tools needed. You can just drop the nozzle in and it's self-centering, and you turn it in and it just works. It centers itself and it worked perfectly. So, you know, aesthetically the airbrush is very pretty. I don't know how, you know, if you can see it here. Very well designed. I like the fit and feel of it. It does feel like a high-end version. It doesn't feel cheap. If you're used to buying the inexpensive airbrushes on Amazon or eBay, this is definitely a big step up. It's very near the very top tier airbrushes. The chroming on it is beautiful. It has a nice like sort of brass or gold accents on it. It does have the preset if you use that. And it has a nice slanted trigger, which I really like quite a bit. And it has a little bit of tooth to it. I don't know if you can see that there. But the nice thing about it, it grips your finger. So it's ergonomically very nice to use because you just press down and back and it already has that, you know, it has some grip to it. So I like that. Now what I found is I was able to do this whole portrait with about a teaspoon's worth of paint. And you guys, if you've been airbrushing, you know how long paint lasts in an airbrush. I didn't even have to use the cups because just without, this has no cup on it. The cup is actually here somewhere. There's a cup you screw on. And I didn't need to use it because I just put a few drops of black and I was able to do this. I think, like I said, maybe a teaspoon, maybe even less is all I needed to do this. As you can see, it's not anything super heavy. It's a lightweight freehand, you know, portrait sample. But anyway, I'm super impressed with this, and even with the little mods I had to do to sort of smooth it out, I think at the budget price, it's hard to beat this. Like, it's a nice value, and I definitely will be using it again. And I'm used to using microns and infinities, but this is a nice airbrush to add to my stable. I think if you want to check it out, it's so affordable, why not get one and see what you think? And post your comments you know, in the comments, because I like to see what you guys thought. And I think it's a great deal. Another thing that you might notice is that it does have this channel inside, and it has an adjuster for so that you can adjust the needle, the pressure. I think they call it needle bearing, and when you tighten it, it makes it sort of a seal there so the paint doesn't flow back and spill out all over the place. And generally you just want that to drag ever so lightly. When you put the needle in, you want to just feel it grabbing it. At least that's how I do it, and I never have paint coming back. So this is a nice you know, technological advancement they've done, but to be honest, you see this on various other airbrushes, but it was nice that they employed it on the Mobius. So I can't think of anything else to say. It does have the micro air control valve, or whatever they call it. They may have their own name for it, but basically when you turn this in, it reduces the air pressure, and when you let it out, it gives you the full pressure that your hose is giving you. So that's nice, because if you're doing, let's say, eyelashes, which I tend to drop the pressure a little bit, I just got to turn it real quick, do the eyelashes, and then open it back up, and then I can spray hair and other things. So that's a nice thing about it. Other than that, I'm super impressed with this effort by Gaahleri. I think this is definitely an airbrush that you guys should check out. And let me know what you think. And if you want me to do more reviews on airbrushes, let me know. Normally I just post like sort of time-lapse videos of what I do just to show you guys what I paint. But if you're interested in me giving my feedback on these airbrushes and telling you guys what I thought, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to do more reviews. Anyway, take care, and I hope you enjoy your Mobius.